You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com. Well, good day. Welcome to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com. How are you, Carrie?
Good.
We also have a guest who doesn't have an awesome shirt like we do, but she still has an awesome shirt. It's just not the School of Bookkeeping shirt. But we have Anna Calderon joining us today, and she has actually created a really awesome workshop. So we're going to be saying the word workshop a lot today because we're on the Workshop Wednesday, and Anna has her own workshop, but we're going to talk a lot about this idea or this concept that she's come up with a paid diagnostic, and she has a what would you call it, a workshop or boot camp or a webinar series? What would you call what you've created?
So what I call is our Friday launch is workshop, and then our cohort, which is what we have our 5-week on. So it's a cohort.
Yeah. A cohort. Okay. All right. So talk a little bit about how this all came about for you.
So I started doing paid diagnostics not too long ago. And I had to do it because of so many things that were just showing up, and I needed to understand before I got into my clients' books. Every time I would go into a client without doing a diagnostic was always just a nightmare because I didn't know how to charge, one, and what I was assuming I was charging okay would always be like way less than all the work that I was putting in to do the cleanup. So by taking some courses and understanding what a diagnostic was, I finally started doing it, and now I can't do it without. I cannot take a client without it. So yes, yeah.
So really what this paid diagnostic does is it kind of protects you from the scope creep, right? Which is terminology that I learned in training, right? Where it's somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I need some training on X," and by the time you're actually ready to deliver, it's been so homogenized or expanded that really the original focus of the message or the reason or the purpose for the training was it was not what it was intended to be, right? Like you ended up you're miles off course, right? Carrie, when you were doing these project works, did you have a structure like that? Or was it something, is it, because it seems to me like most people are, learning from their mistakes, right? Like, it's like, well, I'm not going to do that again. Right.
Right. So when I first started out, I was just charging by the hour, and I was finding that the customer didn't quite, unless I just did detailed what I was doing, or that what I really loved to do actually was just to go in and clean them up. They didn't have to be there, but they didn't realize it took me 25 hours to do it because they thought it was, the marketing around QuickBooks says, "Oh, anybody can do it." Well, no, if that was true, they wouldn't come to us. So I had a lot of problems if I realized that the only way for them to value my time was for me to drag them through the trainings with me. Now, if I would show up on site back in, the pre-Zoom days, they would push me in front of the computer and let me go. And that seemed to be fine, but I didn't want to be held hostage to going on site to do the work. They seemed to value it when they saw me doing it in action, but I don't know, over the course of time, it's annoying for them to be watching you and all that. So, I know back in the days of desktop, and Bonnie, I'm gonna Naganami. She did
Naganami, I think.
she's since passed away of cancer years ago, but she did the similar kind of idea of, and we've all tried to do something like it, to do a diagnostic, to give them the health report of their QuickBooks desktop file, and that idea, it just really makes a better, gives them a takeaway. They don't have to hire you to do the work, but it gives them a takeaway of what's wrong with their file, and then gives them accountability that they screwed it up and they're not the expert. So I think it's a great concept. But it took me, like it's talking about, years to get to that.
Yeah. And when I first started, I was doing it for free, like, because, I didn't know how to charge it or even sell the service, because I wasn't feeling like I was valuing myself. Like, I didn't know how to value that. Or if I were going to do it, what was I going to offer? Yeah. So, and that's what's going on with everything. Like, everybody, they don't know they don't know if what they're going to present to their client is good enough. So, because that's what I was doing. That's why it was free, because I didn't know if what I was going to show them was value, until somebody, you gotta charge for your services. And yes, it is a service. It's a service that you're spending time on the books. And now with more and more experience, or more time that you're doing it, it's like you're learning a little bit more, and you learn a little bit more. So now whatever you're learning from this one, now you can do it on the other one, and you can do it, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. So the value keeps on growing and growing.
Yeah, and it, even though you've got your background blurred there, I can tell there's a hard hat behind you. So you focus mostly on the construction industry and QBO, right? Which is one of those things that Carrie always talks on the on the web, on the workshop. Hey, QBO doesn't do job costing, or those types of things. But you've actually found that QBO can work for construction clients, right?
Yes, we don't use QBO alone. We do have other softwares that we do integrate with the QuickBooks,
like Builder Trend or
Notify. I work
Notify,
with and with the expert Tanya.
Right.
So we work with the Notify. I have a couple clients that does Jobber. So it's just diagnosing that as well. The main diagnosing is in QuickBooks online. But we do once we do the cleanup, that's where we have to make sure that both programs are syncing together and everything.
Yeah. So when you're actually doing the diagnostic, those kinds of things will come up to the surface. What are you using? And if you find something, I assume, that if you find something that they're using that you're not intimately familiar with, how does that come together? Like, do you say, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn this, or you're going to have to switch platforms? Do you have that conversation if you want to, if as part of your findings document?
So as part of the findings, we will find if they are using a different platform, right? So that would raise the price on the cleanup, because then we would have to learn the way that their process is coming from that program to QuickBooks, in order for us to identify why, or what's the cause of the duplicates, or what's the cause of not entering the information correctly. But yes, we will also say we don't work with that kind of software. And I will be totally honest. If I don't know the software, I will tell them, I've never done this software. I'm willing to understand the way you do it and how you process it, but I won't go out and learn it if it's something that I'm not really interested in learning. That's just me, of course, right? But if it's a program that it's a benefit for me to learn, then yeah, we'll go out there and learn it. But we will say no. But at least we got the diagnostics. At least we clean up. We got the cleanup. We can do it, and somebody else can take it if they want to use it. I did.
Right.
I guess I am in the construction industry, but I did actually do a diagnostics and a cleanup for a massage.
Okay.
Yeah. So therapist.
That could be, how different could that be, right?
Yeah. So, but it was so simple to do the cleanup. She wasn't really using a different platform, so we did the cleanup. But when we, as a monthly client, that's when we just said we really don't work with therapists, but we did clean up for you. We didn't turn it away because we're not going to turn away people if it's something that we can really easily do based on the diagnostics, right? So if she would have been using a whole different program and then QuickBooks and then diagnostics, I would have seen that. I would have right there told her, I won't be able to do it because I don't know that program or I don't work with that program. Right. But the diagnostics will actually let you know what's going on.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a safety guard for yourself, right? Like, you know, rather than turning them away, because that's not, you know, the area of familiarity that you have. Here you could actually, you know, take it on with confidence, right? And that's really what your goal is that to find your ideal client and then, you know, talk about, you know, this first step, right? And I think, you know, because, you know, Carrie, I love analogies. You know, I love love analogies. And since you're in since Anna, you're in the construction industry, right? You know, there's this concept of free estimates, right? And I think that is part of the struggle or the challenge that, you know, maybe we're as accounting professionals or bookkeeping, you know, that might be, okay, well, they're doing a free estimate. Why can't I do a free estimate? But in reality, it's not like an estimate where they come out, you know, measure your whatever it is, and then come back and give you a quote, because of course they're going to build in, you know, their cost of coming out and doing that in in the estimate. But also, I was thinking of this is more in terms of like a home inspection, right? Where when you're selling a home, right, you hire a home inspector to come out and go, okay, you need a new roof, you need, you know, this plumbing is bad, this, that home inspector doesn't necessarily do the work. They could, I mean, in your case, you know, with what we're suggesting here with the diagnostic, you know, you can take that findings document, which is a tangible thing that you give the clients as part of this service. We can take that and take it to somebody else, and then it's kind of like the home inspection report. Like, okay, we recommend that you use a licensed contractor to, you know, do your roof, you know, because you could say, I don't do roofs, you know, or whatever that is, you know, I don't do e-commerce or whatever, whatever that ends up being. But I think is that kind of resonating as far as how this, you know, this paid diagnostic works, you know, in the accounting profession?
Yeah, that would be exactly how we would do it. Yeah. I mean, the free estimate would be our free call to know each other. We could say that, you know, free discovery call, you know, but yeah, you would have to have a paid inspection. I like that. A paid QuickBooks.
No charge for that. See, I just gave it away.
Well, I think the benefit of doing these diagnostics or whatever inspection report or whatever, you do get a tangible document. So it does give a whole, you know, because that discovery call can just be all over the phone or a Zoom call where you're taking notes, but they don't get any takeaway because it's free. They want to write it down, fine. If you you know, you give them something, a little gift, but I think that the benefit of these diagnostics is they have a report. And they can do with it as they please. They might not be ready. They might want to just leave it a mess, or while they're waiting for the report, maybe so-and-so said, my daughter just got into this, hire her. Okay, but there's your report, and they have a takeaway, and you move on to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah, and I make my reports so detailed and just so that there's two ways. They get detailed so that they can take it and run with it and do, they can do it themselves. But if they do come back, I have to do another diagnostics. I don't know what
Right, because they touched
it. Or I make it so detailed that they're like, oh my God, this is so much work. I can't do it. You do it. You've already got
I like that part.
So do it.
Here, you do it. Okay.
So it's two ways, and it's both are good.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought was really unique about when of your process, and really what this ultimately boils down to is the people who don't have a process and need some kind of process. That's where you come in and give them what your process is, and then they can take that and run with it, right? But one of the things that I really like about what you do is that first discovery call, whatever that happens to be, whatever they say, it turns in great. You need a paid diagnostic, right? I mean, so it's like your answer, regardless of whatever they say, I'm new to QuickBooks, or I've used it for 20 years, or we've got a bookkeeper, or, my CPA, it doesn't matter. It all funnels down to this one thing of, I'm going to do a paid diagnostic because I don't know exactly what I'm in for. And I don't know if your roof is leaking or not. Or, something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only one I would say no diagnostics to is if somebody really is new, like does not even have a QuickBooks account, and will not, just started their business. Then that's more of like, let's set you up. So we're setting you up. So that's a different service. So you're still going to end the call with a service that you can offer them, which is a setup. And before you even get on the call, that's why I have my clients fill out a form. Like, where are you at? Like, are you just new, or how many years do you have in business? So that I at least know what I have to prepare for our meeting. But yeah, that's also included.
But then when you have that discovery meeting, because basically, 99% of the answers are going to be, okay, we're going to need to do a paid diagnostic. You're already prepared for that.
Correct.
During that conversation, and you were saying, during that initial discovery call, right? As long as it checks the boxes of, this is somebody I do want to work with, or those types of things. You have that engagement all ready to go, and before you're even off the phone, right? They paid you.
Yes.
And like, that's amazing. Like, from going from, okay, well, let's see what we're in for, to, all right, we're ready to go by the end of I mean, how long does that typically, that discovery call take for you? Is it like 15 an hour, or does it just really depend?
15 to 30 minutes. Yeah. So 15 if I feel like it's not going to go anywhere and we're not really compatible. And then 30 minutes if I'm trying to sell them this diagnostics, because now I'm adding that little extra. So
explain
why? Yeah.
You're building the value, right?
Correct. And and I don't mind. I know some people have 15 minutes, which is fine. I think in 15 minutes you get to know if they are a good fit for you. But yeah. So.
And then I mean, and you just break this down into 12 steps, right? This is the process that you provide folks, for your cohort. And I know the proper term is this process. What are the general 12 steps that you kind of do for any diagnostic?
So I look.
I mean, you don't have to go through every one of them. Just
So I do look through pretty much everything on the side of QuickBooks on the left-hand side. I go through that, but then I also want to make sure how many banks have not, the banks are synced, and if they haven't been reconciled, and how long ago have they been reconciled. Sometimes they say they're reconciled, but there's still transactions that have not been reconciled. So we need to make sure that what happened to those. Why weren't they even checked off? Like, are they still checks outstanding, or whatever it is, right? So those are the details that we narrow down. We also look even to the smallest little details, like the settings. I like to look at the settings to make sure that all the buttons are pushed where how they want it, or our recommendation. We go through the profit and loss, the balance sheet, each one by detail, to make sure that everything is syncing correctly, or not syncing, but throughout the months, that utilities are being paid every single month. Making sure why, and if they haven't, credits, debits. So it's going very detailed into the reports within QuickBooks.
Got it. So you're going to get, and really just your sessions are breaking down each of those steps a little bit more in detail, and then you're, is it like pre-recorded, or is it live? How does that work for someone going through this process with you?
For now, it is my second one. I am doing it live. I will be doing it live. So those will be on live on Tuesdays, and then on Thursdays we're doing Q&A, which kind of like answers their questions from the previous, the previous session, because I will have some action steps. So I would love for like a lot of questions, so that we can answer them, and I can help as much as they can. But I am trying to see how I can turn this into an evergreen, where it's already recorded for anybody to just grab it at any time, and not wait until like I decide to do
the next one.
Oh, I need a break. Let me do 4 months now. So
yeah, I think that's the challenge, right? Is that you have a message, and you have a process that anybody can go through at their own pace. Like, hey, I want to do it right now, and but then at that point you're like, oh wait, you got to wait until we launch the next the next series. So I think there's a middle ground there that'll probably be how this evolves for you. I just see. I'm just guessing.
That's what's going to happen with this. Actually, with this cohort, I'm probably thinking of turning it into the evergreen right afterwards. That's my goal. But also have a live at the same time. So we'll still have like that
hybrid, of
So because I still want to be a part of the whoever attends them, or whoever purchases it, because I want to answer their questions as much as I can, of course. So I want them to leave with confidence, like I am now.
Right. Exactly. Now, so when is your next one coming up? So let's talk about, since we're only live for right now, when is your next one happening?
So I'm having a free workshop on Friday, the 17th. That's going to be at 11:30. That one's actually going to announce our second cohort, which begins on February 28th. That one will start on the 28th and go for 5 weeks, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So pretty much the whole month of March.
So if anybody's watching the workshop, we have a link in the comments that is to register for the Friday workshop. So from today's workshop to Anna's workshop on Friday, you can click on there and get pre-registered for that. No cost for that, but you'll explain a lot more detail with slides. The breakdown of this cohort and how it works. And that's one of the things that Carrie and I were kind of talking about with School of Bookkeeping, is that there's so much out there, right? There's so much to to know, and Carrie and I can only make so many videos or learnings, and then there's people like you and that are out there that are focusing on a certain task, and that's one of the things I think we want to cultivate, because we met each other, at Appy Camp, right? This last year, and just really opened my eyes to, wow, there's so many other people that are doing such great things. Why can't we all, play in the same sandbox?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great
So,
idea. Yeah.
so we really appreciate you coming on the workshop today. Carrie, any other thoughts about paid diagnostics that might have surfaced for you?
No, I think it's a really good idea to give people those takeaways, because then they really see your value. If you skip over that, you're just giving away too much.
Oh yes. Yes. It's
I know you're talking to me. It's like, I'm looking at you, Dan. And that's part of my challenge, right? Is that, I came from an environment where it's like, you're paying for the service, you're paying for QuickBooks and you're calling for help. I would just give people help, right? And I still, it's changing that mindset, and changing the hard hat, so to speak, is that it's there is some value in the information that I have to give. I don't necessarily want to just give that away,
yeah.
which I just did with the home inspection analogy.
I'm gonna start using it and say, and then
Yeah.
by Dan.
There you go. Yeah, give me a byline, and then I'll feel better about it.
Yeah, I think that getting a paid diagnostics will put you in a better position, and you'll be able to charge more in your cleanups, because now you know how long it will take, and you don't have to do your hourly rate, which is not very good. You don't want to surprise your clients.
And I think one last thing we want to talk about is, for your cohort, this session, since you focus on QBO and you focus on your niche is construction, right? Would somebody who's seeing this and go, well, I don't work in QBO, like I use with desktop, or I work in another industry, that's my ideal client. Would this not fit for me if they didn't do that? I mean, if they were in different lanes, so to speak, and wanting to do this sort of thing, how are they going to benefit from taking the cohort?
So if they're not using QuickBooks Online, I don't think that it might be 100% good for them, just because I am going to be working in QuickBooks Online. If they're using it, using desktop or Zero, it won't be very ideal, maybe, just because, again, I'm working on the QuickBooks Online. The benefit that if they do want to take it, they could use the same structure on anything that they want, and they use any program that they can use. But in that, there is, like, it's up to you, really, right? But you're going in knowing that I'm doing it on QuickBooks Online. Now, for your other question, anybody can go in. It doesn't matter whether they're in construction, e-commerce, or anywhere. It doesn't matter, because you're still in QuickBooks Online. And what I'm teaching is what you can find in QuickBooks Online. I'm not being very specific as to just the construction industry. Yes, it's my ideal client, and I'm showing you what I do with my client. But again, like I just said, I did a diagnostics on a therapist. So, and I did the same stuff. So it worked, right? So you can be in any field and still take it.
Yeah. And we had a workshop, I think it was last year, Carrie, where we did talk about, quoting a cleanup in desktop, and you were talking about the Bonnie process, right? But what I'm imagining, is that you can take the concepts that you're learning in your cohort, and kind of taking that to, okay, well, I'm gonna associate this with data file damage in desktop, or I'm going to associate this just in general with desktop, because there may not be an exact function in QuickBooks Online, there is something similar, right? I mean, it's going to be similar. It's just the navigation, just like anything with desktop and online. I can do similar things. And I think you had said your first diagnostic was actually a desktop client, right?
Yes. Well, it wasn't it wasn't a diagnostic. It was the
Oh,
bad cleanup.
it was the bad one. Oh, okay.
The one that I didn't get a diagnostics on, which really 16 pages. Yeah, that one.
A 16-page profit and loss. What's the worst that
Yes,
could happen, right?
that was bad that I didn't do a diagnostics. But after
Right.
that, yes, that was my last
All
one.
right. Well, and I really appreciate you coming on here today and talking about this is a super service, and it could, for folks that implement this sort of thing, it's either it's a revenue producing activity, right? So like, hey, I could do I could be a home inspector for just paid diagnostics, right, and never do the work. But coming up with these findings documents that that are useful for clients, or you at least specify, itemize these things out, and what you're in for, and you're able to stay in your lane, with the expectation of what you're going to do and what you won't do, in that ongoing engagement, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I think that's exactly right. And if you want to be just an inspector like you're talking about, you have to build these relationships with people that, okay, you're this kind of client and here's a good pro advisor that I'm going to recommend to do the work, and pull them in for all these calls, and then they can take them and run. So anyway, I think that's a great approach as well. Either way works, but don't give it away,
No.
Dan.
He won't anymore.
It's an Achilles heel I have. I just want to help people.
And it's okay to give a couple things away, because that's also how you show your knowledge. Even when you're on Facebook or, these webinars and stuff, we give our workshop Wednesdays to show our knowledge so that you can trust our work, that kind of thing. So that's fine, just not the whole project.
So if you
Right.
want to give something away, maybe within your discovery call, give them like a little tip. So then you'll feel
Mhm.
like, oh, I gave something away. And then start the diagnostics.
Wait a minute. This sounds like an intervention.
Okay, so it is. No.
You will not give it away anymore. Just a
Well, I
smidgen.
really do thank you both for having me on here. It's been amazing and great. So I do want to thank you for that.
Thank you for joining. We appreciate your expertise. This
Thank
is
you.
one of our favorite topics.
Awesome.
All right. So, and everybody who joined us, we actually had someone who commented from LinkedIn, Carrie. So
Yay!
we are reaching out there. Susan asked a question. How long is is Friday's webinar?
It will be about an hour and a half.
Okay, so they know what to
To expect.
block off on their schedule if they decide to join. Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, everybody who tuned in for the Workshop Wednesday, and we'll see you next week on another Workshop Wednesday.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great week.